Welcome to number 3 in my series of Why is the English language just so weird? Now, number 3, we're going to talk about consistency. Now, consistency is really important when you're writing academically, but there are some occasions where you can use a little bit of variety in the way you express things. So this is what I want to explain in this little posting. So when you're dealing with terms and concepts, that's where you need to be really careful to use consistent language. So, for example, in the social sciences, you might want to talk about social class, but you could say social class, social economic group, class, or you could even say social strata. All of those terms might sound similar or even the same, but in actual fact, they often reflect different philosophical and theoretical assumptions. So if you were to write about social class, it would be really important to use the phrase social class, or whichever one of those out of that list that you wanted to use or you thought was most appropriate. It's best to use the same term throughout. That way your reader knows A, what you're talking about, and B, that you understand perhaps the differences between social class and social economic group. If you were to use them interchangeably, then your reader might think you don't understand those differences, and that can be the difference between a really high mark and a very average mark, because you're not conveying your understanding clearly. So select the most appropriate term for the concept or term you're using and stick with that throughout. On the other hand, although you're not doing creative writing where there's certain merit in expressing things in a multitude of ways, you can use different terms when you're using academic writing. For example, you can choose different verbs. So I remember a few years ago when I was marking a series of master's dissertations, and there was a group of students who had latched onto the word opine. Opine means to suggest or to argue or to put forward. And that's fine. It was used in an accurate way, but it was used consistently throughout. And if you're writing something which is like 10 or 15,000 words and you use that phrase repeatedly, it becomes really monotonous and boring, and the reader begins to think that you don't perhaps understand what it means because you're not using alternate phrases. So opine means to hold or to state an opinion, and there's loads of other words that you can use to make that point. So you can use suggest, or argue, or put forward, or posit, or a whole range of words, and it adds some variety to your writing. So if you check the marking criteria for your essay or your dissertation or whatever it is you're writing, you will find that there is something in there about the quality of your writing. So, for example, one set of marking criteria from an MSc that I reviewed recently put it this way: the student will be marked on their exposition of ideas. That is to say, if they have a poor exposition of ideas, the meaning or the argument is obscure. So a good exposition of ideas means that your argument and your meaning is clear. So this is why it's very important to be consistent when you're using terminology and conceptual language, but you can use more variety when you're using verbs in expressing the different things you want to say in your paragraph. And the ability to explain your argument and your ideas is so crucial to you getting a high mark. So it's really important to master these skills carefully. If you'd like more information about how to write using the 6 C's, I've only mentioned one here, there are 5 other ones, then feel free to visit my website, www.lynn-Brierley-Jones.com, and download my free PDF guide, or contact me directly, which is lynn@lynn-Brierley-Jones.com. I really look forward to hearing from you.